Welcome to Swine Leaders Live, where we talk with leaders who are driving innovation, execution, and well-being in pork production. I'm Jim Eadie, your host, and today I'm joined by Macie Reeb, Associate Swine Nutritionist with AMVC Nutritional Services. Welcome, Macie.
Thanks, Jim.
I know, Macie, you're an emerging leader in the pork industry, passionate about bridging the gap between producers and consumers, and then you bring a fresh perspective shaped by your experiences in the Iowa Pork Leadership Academy, where you've carried the voice of producers all the way to Capitol Hill. And then in your role at AMVC, you combine technical expertise in swine nutrition with a deep commitment to education, advocacy, and outreach. So let's just start kind of like what's caught your attention, Macie, in the industry lately before we dive into the main conversation. We do a quick host chat to start each episode. So from your perspective as a young leader, what's something new or what's caught your attention?
I think lately I would say foreign trade deals and relationships with other countries has definitely been something on, I think, everyone's radar. USMCA, so formerly NAFTA, is up for renewal in 2026. And so definitely just something on everyone's radar to kind of monitor what happens with those foreign trade deals and relationships and potentially how this can impact ingredient costs and feed costs and pork prices here in the US.
So what about anything new in nutrition trends or producer priorities?
I think something that's definitely been on my radar lately is how to better nutritionally support larger litters. So we know with genetic improvements in nutrition and gilt and breeding management, we're producing larger litters than ever before. So larger born alive, larger wean pigs per sow. And so anything we can do to better nutritionally support that sow and those piglets, I think is super important. And we're going to continue to try and move the needle on that. But also, I think a focus on sow and piglet livability has definitely been on the industry's mind here last 5 to 10 years, as we've seen an increased mortality in both sow mortality and piglet mortality. And so trying to reduce this mortality and turn that trend around for sure.
And then what's something you've seen in your Iowa Pork Leadership Academy work that producers or consumers should be paying attention to, Macie?
I'm going to keep it general, but I think state and national legislation, anything that directly or indirectly affects the pork industry, so things like agriculture regulations and things like that, I think should be on the forefront of everyone's mind to proactively manage these things as they come out, but also to have a voice in how this legislation plays out, I think is super, super important.
So great insight, Macie. Let's shift gears and go deeper into your work, your leadership journey, and your vision for the future of pork production. So there's always challenges, opportunities in the industry from your role in swine nutrition. What do you see as the biggest opportunity and challenge right now?
I think you got to mention health, right, Jim? So things like PRRS, PED, foreign animal disease continue to be probably the biggest opportunity in the swine industry. Just the devastating impacts that these diseases can cause in the industry. I think you got to mention that. But beyond health, I think domestic demand is also something that's super important and a big opportunity. If you think about things like beef and egg prices that have skyrocketed in the past few years, but we didn't see, consumers straying away from those products despite the increase in price. And so I think if we're able to replicate this consumer loyalty in the pork sector, then we'll be sitting in a pretty good profitable position. So
What about leadership and advocacy? You've represented the Iowa Pork Leadership Academy, which we talked about earlier here, but even on Capitol Hill, I know you did a couple nice editorial reports on that. And through that, Macie, what did you learn about leadership through that experience?
definitely the world is run by the people that show up. So whether that's talking to legislators, calling legislators, going to things like Pork Day on the Hill. That's super important. Just having open dialogue, open conversations with those people who often are outside of the realm of the pork industry or even the ag industry. Sharing our own stories as pork producers is super important to get them to see why we care about those issues, why they affect people in the pork industry personally, but then also why they should care about those issues as well and why they should be the voice for pork producers.
And what's most gratifying with that work?
I think moving the needle on those different opportunities, seeing the impact that sharing your story really does, and how they can see the issues that they're impacting, have the victories and wins when you do share your story.
Yeah, and you're seeing it firsthand through that experience.
Yeah, for
Now,
sure.
with veterinary and nutrition, let's talk about that connection, Macie. So, as a nutritionist, you collaborate with veterinarians. How important is that partnership in keeping pigs healthy and then operations efficient, especially as biosecurity and all these other things evolve?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The collaboration between our vet and nutrition team, specifically here at AMVC, where we have a pretty vet-heavy team, super important. We're really lucky here at AMVC to work with a great nutrition and vet staff. You think about you can have a healthy pig that's fed according to its requirements with a perfect feed program. But if it's a sick pig, you're still missing opportunity. But then on the flip side of that, you can have a super healthy pig, but if it's not fed according to its requirements, according to the goals that you're trying to capitalize on for production, again, you're missing opportunity. So the collaboration between nutrition and health go hand in hand to producing that healthy, nutritious pork product.
Yeah, it's like a whole team that has to work together to get that end result.
Yep. Yep. And then you think about things like our internal feed mill here in Hamlin, Iowa, that was opened a couple of years ago. Things like veterinary feed directives and feed medications, biosecurity pyramids for our delivery drivers. That collaboration really, really plays a big part in that as well.
What about consumer education? Again, that's something you're passionate about, bridging the gap between producers and consumers. And I agree that story and that connection is important. What are some of the best ways the industry can connect with consumers and build trust? Like we've seen different blogs and podcasts, but what's your
Mhm. Meet the consumer where they're at. For me, this means advocating with just my family, my friends, social media, sharing my story via social media to try and reach the audience where they're at. But for other people, this again could mean calling their legislators, sharing their own story with family and friends, including pork in recipes as they host their family and friends. And yeah, just finding ways to share their own story.
So 3 to 5 years as we look into the future, I know AI has trended innovation, but what innovations in nutrition, production, or consumer outreach do you think will reshape how we raise pigs and then market pork?
Yeah. I think right now in the industry or in consumers' minds, rather, it's this healthy protein trend and consumers want more protein. I was at the grocery store yesterday and it seems like every product is promoting protein. And so, pork offers a lean, nutrient-dense protein option for consumers. And so I think really capitalizing on this healthy protein trend is super important in the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I know they have like protein with lattes and everything now too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
It's like you
And
gotta.
then you think about the source of that protein. Is it plant-based or is it meat-based? And so promoting, pork as a product that is the better alternative and is the greatest source of protein for sure.
Exactly. So to wrap up, you've joked before, one of the simplest but most important consumer education tips is don't overcook your pork chop. So for our listeners, what's your go-to way of preparing pork at home?
Yeah, this is a fun question. So I would say pork tenderloin, marinated in like a teriyaki Hawaiian marinade. Put it in the oven, just 400 degrees for 20 minutes. Got to check your internal temp, make sure it's 145. But it's super easy to cook. Just throw it in the oven. Super tasty, and that's kind of my go-to for sure, Jim.
Well, sounds delicious, Macie. Dr.